Welcome to Zoe Stories. From broke to beautiful. But at what cost? I never imagined that a single knock on my door could change everything about who I was forever. 18-year-old Arav had grown accustomed to fading into the background. Life for him was a string of monotonous routines, waking up to the cold light of his cramped apartment, hopping between part-time jobs, and returning home to eat instant noodles in silence. The city outside pulsed with life, yet he always felt like a ghost watching from behind fogged glass. He had no remarkable friends, no promising prospects, and certainly no confidence. The world seemed to judge him for being timid, for speaking softly, for not fitting any mold that mattered. He was invisible, a shadow of a boy who might have had potential if only life had given him a chance. It was on a rainy Thursday evening when the knock came. Arav hesitated, wiping his damp hair from his face. He wasn't expecting anyone, least of all her. Mira stepped into the room like she owned it. Her presence was magnetic, almost suffocating. Her heels clicked against the worn floor, announcing dominance, yet her smile carried an inexplicable warmth. She was in her late 20s, confident and terrifyingly beautiful, with sharp eyes that seemed to see through Arav's entire soul. "I hear you're struggling," she said casually, tossing her umbrella aside. "I might be able to help, but it will cost you something." Arav froze. Her tone was soft, but there was an unspoken weight behind it, a command disguised as kindness. I don't understand," he stammered. Mira circled him slowly, as if inspecting a delicate sculpture. "It's simple," she said. "I have connections, a modeling campaign. But it's not ordinary. It's for a very particular type of look. You'll need to present as a girl." Arav blinked, disbelief clouding his brain. What?
Me?
Dress like a girl? His voice cracked, betraying the mixture of fear, panic, and involuntary curiosity. Mira laughed softly, a sound both musical and mocking. She leaned against the doorframe, her gaze unwavering. Completely. Outwardly. Convincingly. "And don't worry. I'll help you every step of the way." Her words carried both temptation and threat. For a moment, Arav felt cornered. He wanted to reject her, to slam the door and retreat into the safety of his invisible life. And yet, something in her tone, in her gaze, suggested that refusal wasn't just impossible, it was unimaginable. Arav felt the tight knot in his chest loosen slightly. Desperation is a strange thing. It can make even the impossible seem necessary. Bills piled up, his part-time wages were barely enough for rent, and every door he had tried to open in life had been slammed shut. Maybe, just maybe, this was his chance. By the end of the evening, he found himself standing in front of Myra's full-length mirror, trembling. She handed him a silk dress, soft and delicate, and brushed a stray strand of hair from his forehead. "You'll start tonight," she whispered, her voice a dangerous mixture of seduction and command. "It's time to see yourself differently. Trust me, Arav, you'll be beautiful." Arav's hands shook as he touched the fabric. Smooth, flowing, foreign. His reflection stared back at him. Not just his timid, shy face, but a shadow of the person Mira promised he could become. A stranger. A girl. Beautiful. Vulnerable.
Exposed.
He swallowed hard. I don't know if I can," his voice trailed off, trembling with a mixture of fear, humiliation, and curiosity. Mira placed a hand lightly on his shoulder, firm and controlling. "You can. And you will. Or you'll never know what could have been." The weight of her words sank into him like a stone in water. Arav had no choice now.
Not really.
He stripped off his plain clothes, feeling a strange, uncomfortable intimacy in the act. The dress felt alien against his skin, soft yet suffocating. Mira guided him through each movement, correcting posture, adjusting straps, and smoothing wrinkles. Every touch was deliberate, a mix of instruction and subtle dominance that made his heart race uncontrollably. "Look at yourself," she commanded gently, tilting the mirror. Arav's reflection was no longer just him. It was a version of himself he had never known. His cheeks looked softer, his eyes wider, framed with carefully applied makeup. Lip gloss tingled unnaturally. Every feature had been sculpted to blur the line between boy and girl. He turned slowly, hesitantly. "Is this really me?" he whispered, voice cracking. Myra's smile was both triumphant and cruel. "It's you, and it isn't. The real you will fade, Ariv. I promise, the world will only see her." A surge of panic hit him. He wanted to laugh, cry, scream, anything to reclaim his former self. But at the same time, a small, strange thrill ran through him. He had never been noticed like this, never been called beautiful before, never had anyone orchestrate his appearance with such precision. The first test came in the form of walking. Mira led him to the small hallway and demonstrated the subtle sway, the delicate step, the posture that would make him convincingly feminine. Ariv wobbled like a newborn foal, collapsing once, nearly tripping on the hem of the dress. Mira helped him up, her hands firm, her eyes sharp. "You're clumsy," she said softly, "but not hopeless. That's a start." Humiliation burned his cheeks hotter than any embarrassment he had ever felt. And yet her approval, small as it was, made him want to try harder. By the end of the night, Ariv was exhausted, physically, emotionally, and mentally. Every step, every glance in the mirror, every correction from Mira chipped away at the boy he had been. He wondered, fleetingly and fearfully, if he would ever recognize himself again. Mira finally stepped back, her expression a mix of satisfaction and amusement. "Tomorrow we'll go out.
Public.
Real people. Are you ready to face the world as her?" Ariv's stomach twisted. Public? Exposure? The very thought made him want to flee, but he couldn't. The bills, the opportunity, the strange pull of Myra's power. It anchored him in place. He nodded, trembling. I'll try." Myra's smile widened. "Good. Remember, Ariv, every step forward is a choice. And some choices change you forever." As Ariv collapsed onto his bed, staring at the ceiling, he whispered to himself, "What have I gotten myself into?" The mirror didn't lie, but I didn't recognize the reflection staring back at me. Who was I, and who was she? The morning light spilled through the tiny curtains of Ariv's apartment, cold and unforgiving. He sat on the edge of the bed, hands trembling, the silk dress from last night folded neatly on a chair beside him. Sleep had eluded him. His mind was a whirlwind of fear, excitement, and a gnawing question. Am I really doing this? Mira had instructed him to arrive at her apartment by 10, fully prepared to take the next step. Ariv wasn't just going to wear a dress today. He was going to learn the art of femininity from scratch. Makeup, lingerie, posture, and the subtle ways women moved through the world. Stepping into the elevator, Ariv felt exposed. Every bump, every sway of the car made him hyper-aware of the silk brushing against his skin, the bra that tightened his chest uncomfortably, and the sheer tights that seemed to accentuate every insecurity he had ever held. His reflection in the elevator mirror made him flinch. The boy he had been was gone, replaced by a version so delicate, so fragile, it felt almost unnatural. When he arrived at Myra's apartment, she was waiting, her presence commanding the entire room. Today's lesson, she explained, would be about control, image, and submission. "First, we'll start with makeup," she said, laying out an array of brushes, powders, and lipsticks. Makeup isn't just art, it's armor, a mask, and a statement. You'll learn what makes people see her instead of you. Ariv's stomach churned as she guided his hands to the brushes. Each stroke on his face was an assault on his identity, foundation smoothing out the boyish contours, eyeliner elongating his eyes, mascara weighing down his lashes. The lipstick, bold and glossy, made him flinch. "You're beautiful," Mira said softly, almost teasing. "See what I mean?" But all he saw was himself disappearing with every layer of color, every flick of the brush. His reflection in the mirror was no longer Ariv, it was a stranger. One part of him panicked, another part embarrassingly thrilled. For the first time, someone looked at him and saw beauty. Next came lingerie, carefully selected to sculpt his body into a feminine silhouette. Mira guided him as he awkwardly stepped into satin and lace, adjusting straps and smoothing edges. The sensation was strange, foreign, and deeply humiliating. He caught glimpses of himself in the mirror and winced at the curves that didn't belong to him, at the softness of his chest and the narrow waist he now had to learn to carry. Posture, Mira instructed, her voice firm. You cannot walk like a boy anymore. Your hips, your shoulders, your chin, they all tell a story. And right now, that story is hers, not yours. Arv attempted to follow her instructions, wobbling, swaying unnaturally. Every misstep brought a sting of embarrassment, every correction a reminder that he was no longer in control of his own body. Mira, however, was patient in a way that made his humiliation worse. Gentle touches, soft praises, and sharp corrections all at once, a mixture of kindness and cruelty that left him dizzy. Then came the walking practice. Mira set up a makeshift runway in her living room. With each tentative step, Arv felt the silk of his dress brushing his legs, the heels forcing his calves to strain, and the unfamiliar weight of feminine confidence pressing him to move differently. He nearly fell multiple times, his cheeks burning with shame, but Myra's hand was always there to steady him. You're doing well for a beginner, she said, her eyes glinting. But remember, perfection is expected in public. And soon, you'll face the world. Public exposure. Just the thought made Arv's heart pound violently. Mira had plans to take him to a busy mall by the end of the week. Today, it was only mirrors, fabric, and the intensity of her gaze. But the looming idea of strangers noticing, commenting, staring, it both terrified and strangely exhilarated him. Lunch came, and even that was a lesson. Mira made him sit at the table with delicate grace, showing him how to use utensils, how to keep his voice soft and melodic, how to smile in a way that charmed rather than intimidated. Every bite felt like a performance, every glance in the mirror another reminder of his transformation. As the day drew to a close, Arv sat on the edge of a chair, utterly exhausted. His body ached, his mind raced, and his heart was torn between resistance and a surprising attraction to his new appearance. Mira knelt beside him, brushing a strand of hair from his face. You're learning fast, she said, her tone soft but imbued with authority. But tomorrow we leave the apartment. You'll step outside, and the world will see her, not you. Arv swallowed, the lump in his throat almost suffocating. Public scrutiny. The thought made him want to run, yet another part of him, a part he couldn't admit even to himself, thrilled at the idea of being admired, desired, called beautiful. That night, lying in bed, Arv stared at the ceiling, every nerve on edge. He could still feel the dress, the bra, the tights, every trace of feminine training pressing against his skin. He thought about the boy he had been, the life he had led, and the strange, intoxicating pull of this new world. Who am I anymore? He wondered. Am I still Arv, the shy, invisible boy? Or am I her? And if I am her, do I dare enjoy it? Tears pricked his eyes. Not just from fear, not just from humiliation, but from the profound confusion of identity. Myra's voice echoed in his memory, smooth and commanding. Every step forward is a choice, and some choices to change you forever. The chapter ends with Arv standing in front of the mirror, touching his reflection, whispering, "Is this really me, or someone I meant to be?" Tomorrow, he would step outside. Tomorrow, strangers would see him. And tomorrow, Arv's life would spiral into a world from which there was no easy escape. Stepping outside felt like crossing a line I could never come back from. Every pair of eyes felt like fire on my skin. The morning sun cut through the city like shards of glass, reflecting off wet streets from last night's rain. Arv's hands shook as he stood in front of Myra's full-length mirror. Today wasn't about practicing in the safety of walls or the comfort of private lessons. Today, he would face the world, fully dressed as a girl. Mira stood behind him, her hands resting lightly on his shoulders, grounding him. "Remember," she said softly, "the world only sees what you show them. Confidence is everything." Arv swallowed, nerves twisting his stomach into knots. He had rehearsed his walk countless times, perfected his posture, and studied the subtle tilt of his head in the mirror. Yet the thought of strangers staring, whispering, and judging made his chest tighten. They stepped outside, the city's noise hitting him like a tidal wave, horns blaring, footsteps echoing, strangers laughing and shouting. Arav felt exposed, fragile, like a doll being carried through a storm. Every eye that met his gaze seemed to pierce through him, testing, evaluating, mocking. A group of college students passed by, their laughter sharp. One boy glanced at Arav, doing a double take. "Whoa, you look really good," he said, voice tinged with surprise and curiosity. Arav froze, heat flooding his cheeks. He had never been noticed like this, never complimented. But it wasn't pure joy, it was humiliation. His mind screamed that this attention wasn't meant for him, that he was betraying himself with every glance and every step. Myra's hand rested on his lower back, subtly guiding him forward. "Keep walking. Don't stop. Own it." They reached a bustling mall. Mirrors reflected Arav from every angle, shoppers' eyes landing on him, some with admiration, some with amusement. His heels clicked against the polished floor, every misstep echoing like a confession of inadequacy. Mira made him stand in front of a cosmetics kiosk. "Try the testers," she instructed. "Smile.
Talk to them.
Make them see her." Arav's fingers shook as he applied perfume to his wrists, dabbed blush on his cheeks, and touched his lips lightly with gloss. The salesman smiled, complimenting his delicate features. Arav wanted to run, wanted to hide, but Myra's gaze was steady, unrelenting. He realized that she enjoyed this, watching him squirm while molding him into perfection. His mind was a battlefield.
Who am I?
He asked himself repeatedly. Am I still Arav, the shy boy who never mattered? Or am I her, the girl everyone notices, admires, maybe even desires? Every compliment, every lingering glance, tore at his identity. There was shame, yes, but also an undeniable thrill. A dangerous curiosity. A sense of power he had never known, albeit borrowed from the mask he wore. At a clothing store, a small incident shattered his fragile composure. A group of teenagers, seeing him in the flowy dress and high heels, giggled loudly. "Look at her," one whispered. "So pretty. Wait, is that a guy?" Arav froze. His heart pounded violently, eyes darting to Mira, who stood calmly, a faint smirk on her lips. "Ignore them," she said softly, brushing a hand over his hair. But her touch was a reminder. She had orchestrated this, led him here, forced him into exposure. Every whisper, every stare was a tool she wielded, and he was powerless under her control. The humiliation was overwhelming. Tears threatened to spill, but Myra's steady presence anchored him. "Good," she whispered. "Feel it. That embarrassment is part of the transformation. The world doesn't care about the old you, only her." Walking back to the exit, Arav's mind was a whirlwind of fear, confusion, and strange excitement. The mall, once a neutral space, had become a stage where every glance felt like judgment and every compliment like betrayal. He realized that each step outside was eroding the boy he had been. The timid, invisible Arav was fading, replaced by someone who could endure, perform, and perhaps even enjoy the feminine attention. Before leaving, a boy around his age approached him at a coffee shop. You're really pretty," he said softly. Not mocking, not leering, genuine admiration. Arav's chest tightened. The compliment should have embarrassed him further, but instead, it stirred something strange inside, a mix of pleasure and fear. "Does he see me or her?" Mira noticed the fleeting smile and whispered in his ear. "Good. That's approval. Notice how it feels? That feeling is addictive. And now you want more." By the time they returned home, Arav was trembling from exhaustion, both physical and emotional. He removed the heels and collapsed on the couch. Mira leaned against the doorway, watching him with a sharp, calculating smile. "Tomorrow," she said, voice low and thrilling, "you'll attend your first event.
People you don't know.
People who will expect perfection. Are you ready to truly step into her world?" Arav's mind raced, terror and anticipation warring inside him. He knew the next step would either break him or make him surrender completely. And as he stared at the ceiling that night, he whispered again to himself, "Who am I anymore? And do I even want to be?" The moment I stepped into the room, every eye seemed to pierce me, and I realized there was no turning back. Arif's hands shook as he smoothed the silk of his dress in front of the mirror. Today wasn't a mall or casual public test. It was a formal social event, a gathering of people he didn't know, many of whom would scrutinize him without mercy. His heels clicked nervously against the wooden floor as Mira guided him through last-minute adjustments. "Posture," she said firmly, adjusting his shoulders. "Chin up, spine straight. You are no longer a boy hiding, now you are her." Every move must convince them. Arif's chest tightened. Each instruction felt like a command to erase himself further. Every corrected step, every tilt of his head, every forced smile chipped away at the boy he had been. When they arrived, the grandeur of the venue hit him like a wave. Glittering chandeliers, polished floors, and elegantly dressed people moving with an ease and confidence he could only dream of. His heels clicked unnaturally loud, drawing glances, some admiring, some curious. Arif's face burned, a mixture of fear and embarrassment coursing through him. Mira led him through the crowd, her hand lightly brushing his back. "Smile," she whispered. "You're beautiful. Let them see her, not you." A group of young men passed by, their eyes lingering longer than comfortable. "Wow, stunning," one said. Arif froze. The compliment made his heart race, but it wasn't joy. It was humiliation, the cruel thrill of being noticed in a body that wasn't naturally his. Arif's mind whirled. Am I really doing this?
Who am I now?
The reflection of his own hesitation in the polished surfaces around him reminded him that he was trapped in this new persona, visible and exposed. Arif was guided to a table where a small group of socialites were seated. Mira introduced him as a friend, someone new to the circle. Each interaction was carefully orchestrated. He had to laugh lightly, tilt his head delicately, and respond with soft, melodious tones. Each misstep made Mira correct him discreetly, her fingers brushing his arm or adjusting his hair. At one point, a woman leaned in, whispering with a knowing smile, "You're very pretty. I love your dress. And your presence." Arif's body stiffened. He wanted to vanish. Yet, beneath the humiliation, a strange sensation stirred. Attention, admiration, approval. It was intoxicating. He was enjoying it, even as he hated himself for it.
Who am I?
He thought, panic and desire colliding inside him. Am I Arif, or am I her? And if I am her, what does that make me? Every compliment, every glance, and every subtle touch from Mira forced him further into this dual existence. He laughed when he wanted to hide, smiled when he wanted to scream, and swayed when his instincts screamed to run. Mira observed silently, a faint smirk playing on her lips. She leaned close and whispered, "See how it feels? They admire her. They desire her. And you are learning to crave it too. Good. That's the transformation I promised." Arif's stomach twisted. Her words were part command, part seduction, and he felt helpless under her gaze. Every time he thought he could reclaim his identity, Mira reminded him of the power she held over him. During a short break, a young man from the previous mall encounter approached. You're really beautiful," he said softly. Not mocking, not teasing, genuine admiration. Arif's chest tightened again, his heart racing. The compliment was dangerous. He wanted to run, to confess, to hide the truth. But the thrill of being seen, of being admired, of being wanted in this new form, it was addictive. By the end of the event, Arif was emotionally drained. His legs ached, his mind was foggy, and his heart raced from a mixture of humiliation and excitement. Myra's final words cut through his exhaustion. Remember, the world only sees her now. And soon so will you. Back in the privacy of Myra's apartment, Arif collapsed into a chair, trembling. I can't do this anymore, he whispered. But even as he said it, A part of him thrilled at the idea of tomorrow when he would take another step deeper into this strange, intoxicating identity. I couldn't stop staring at the reflection, even though every glance reminded me that I was losing myself. The morning sun barely filtered through Myra's curtains, casting a soft glow across the apartment. Arif sat nervously on a velvet chair, fidgeting with the hem of a lace dress Mira had carefully selected the night before. Today wasn't about public appearances. It was a private, intimate lesson designed to shape him completely, body and mind, into her version of femininity. Mira entered the room with a confident stride, holding a small tray of brushes, powders, and lotions. "Today," she said, her voice smooth yet commanding, "we refine every detail. Face, posture, voice, even the smallest movement reveals who you are or who you pretend to be." Arv's chest tightened. Each word was a reminder. His old self was slipping, inch by inch, beneath the layers of silk, makeup, and instruction. He had no armor here, no public distraction, no bustling mall, just Mira and the reflection in the mirrors that lined the room. Mira positioned him in front of a large, ornate mirror. "Look," she instructed, tilting his chin slightly. "Not just at the dress. Not just at the makeup. Look at her. Feel her. Own her." Arv's reflection startled him. The boy he had been was fading. High cheekbones accentuated by blush, long eyelashes framing wide, uncertain eyes, glossy lips slightly parted in tension. He looked like a girl, undeniably, terrifyingly beautiful. But the mirror did more than reflect, it taunted him. Every brushstroke, every adjustment, every corrected posture screamed, "You are not yourself anymore." Mira guided him through minute gestures, how to tilt his head when listening, how to place a hand delicately on a table, the subtle sway of hips while walking, the gentle curve of a smile. Each movement felt unnatural, forced, yet when he caught himself in the reflection, a strange, confusing pleasure stirred. Arif's mind was a battlefield.
Who am I?
He asked silently. Am I still Arif? Or am I becoming her? Every compliment he had received, every glance from strangers, every touch from Mira reinforced a version of himself he couldn't entirely recognize, and a version he was starting to crave. Mira leaned close, her breath brushing against his ear. "Do you feel how vulnerable you are? That's good. Vulnerability is beauty. But never forget, I control how the world sees you.
And now?
I control how you see yourself." Arif shivered, not just from fear, but from the intimate power she wielded over him. He realized humiliation could be intoxicating when paired with her approval. Every instruction, every correction, was both punishment and promise. Mirror obsession deepens. Hours passed, each moment stretching into eternity. Arif found himself unable to look away from the mirror, tracing the contours of his transformed face, the smooth curve of his legs, the soft sway of his hips. He hated himself for the fascination but couldn't stop. Mira observed silently, noting the subtle shifts in his expression, the growing dependence on her guidance. "See how easily you adapt," she whispered. "Soon, the boy you were will exist only in memory, and you'll love, or at least accept, her completely." Arif's fingers trembled as he adjusted his hair, repeated the gestures Mira had taught him, and tried to perfect his walk. Each repetition blurred the line between his old self and the persona he was now inhabiting. He wondered if he would ever remember what it felt like to walk, talk, and exist as a boy. By evening, exhaustion and emotional overload took their toll. Arif sank to the floor, knees pressed to his chest, staring at his reflection through tear-filled eyes.
I
don't know who I am anymore," he whispered. His voice sounded foreign, almost higher in pitch than before, carrying a melody that wasn't entirely his own. Mira knelt beside him, her hand brushing a tear from his cheek. "Sure, that's okay," she murmured. Feeling lost is part of the process. Every tear, every tremble, every doubt is shaping her. You're learning more than you realize. Arif wanted to argue, to reclaim his identity, to escape, but the truth was undeniable. The reflection in the mirror fascinated him. The boy he had been was fading, and a new presence, delicate and intoxicating, was rising. As night fell, Mira stood in the doorway, a faint smile on her lips. Tomorrow, you will meet someone who will see her and like her.
Not you.
Are you ready to face the world and be desired in this body? Arv's chest tightened. The thought both terrified and thrilled him. He realized that the next step would push him further than ever before, into a realm where identity, desire, and control collided. And as he stared into the mirror one last time before sleep, he whispered, almost breathless, "Who am I, really?" The moment he looked at me, I felt everything inside me shatter and tangle: desire, shame, fear, and something I couldn't name. The next morning, Arv awoke to the soft light spilling through Myra's curtains, still trembling from yesterday's mirror obsession. Today promised to challenge him further. Mira had informed him that he would meet someone, a male peer, who didn't know his secret. This encounter would test how convincingly he could maintain his feminine persona outside the safety of private lessons. As he dressed, Arv's hands shook. The lingerie clung tightly, the dress felt foreign against his skin, and the high heels made every step a calculated effort. His reflection in the mirror startled him. He looked so different, so delicate, so undeniably feminine. Yet underneath, he was still Arv, the shy boy whose heart thumped in panic and uncertainty. Mira entered, radiant and controlling as always. "Today," she said, "you'll meet someone who only sees her. The real test is not just the way you look, but the way you behave. Confidence, charm, grace, and don't forget, he mustn't suspect anything." Arv followed her to a quiet cafe. Mira gave him last-minute instructions: posture, voice, gestures, even how to hold his cup. Every detail was orchestrated. "Remember," she whispered, "he's not here to test you. But his approval will matter more than you think." Then he saw him, a young man, friendly and unassuming, laughing with the barista. Arv's stomach twisted. He recognized the same curious admiration he had felt before in the mall, but this was different. This boy would interact with him as if he were completely female, unaware of the truth. "Hi," the boy said, smiling warmly. "I'm Rohan. Mind if I join you?" Arv's voice trembled, but he forced a soft, melodic tone. "And no, not at all," he replied, flinching at the unfamiliar lilt of his voice. As Rohan settled across from him, Arv felt panic rise. Every word he spoke, every gesture, every laugh carried the weight of deception. And yet, there was a thrill too, subtle and dangerous. He was captivating someone, charming someone, living in a body that wasn't entirely his own. Conversation flowed. Rohan was kind, curious, and genuinely interested. Arv found himself laughing in ways he never had as a boy, enjoying the attention, yet simultaneously feeling guilty for hiding the truth. Is this wrong? Arv wondered. Am I betraying myself, or discovering a new part of me? Rohan complimented him naturally. You have an amazing smile, really lights up your eyes. Arv's chest tightened. Every compliment felt like both a knife and a bomb. Shame twisted with delight. The reflection of his own eyes in the polished cafe window reminded him how much he had changed and how visible he had become. Unseen by Rohan, Mira watched from a distance, a faint smile on her lips. She had orchestrated every moment, every step, every interaction. She was the puppeteer, and Arv the delicate, trembling marionette. "You're doing well," she whispered to herself. "Soon, he won't just admire her, he'll desire her. And then she'll have to choose." Arv's mind was a storm. Part of him longed to confess, to reveal the boy beneath the dress, the lips, the soft voice. But another part, shameful, secretive, intoxicating, wanted to stay as she was. To be seen, desired, acknowledged. Every glance from Rohan stirred something deep, confusing, and electric. He was still Arv, but in this form, he felt a strange empowerment alongside the shame, a power in allure, in the careful deception, in the ability to be admired for something he had never been before. Rohan reached out to adjust a loose strand of Arv's hair. Arv's heart slammed. His hands tightened in his lap. Myra's lessons on touch, on posture, on subtle signals, their culmination was here, in a quiet cafe, in an ordinary yet terrifyingly intimate moment. Arif couldn't breathe. Every fiber of his being screamed confusion, desire, guilt, exhilaration. He wondered if he would ever untangle the two halves of himself, Arif and her, the boy and the girl who now lived in his reflection. As they left the cafe together, laughing and exchanging playful words, Myra's voice echoed in his memory. Soon you'll have to choose. Who are you truly? And who will the world love? Arif walked beside Rohan, heels clicking softly against the pavement, every step pulling him deeper into a life he hadn't asked for but couldn't resist. And for the first time, he wondered, not fearfully but with a trembling curiosity, if he ever wanted to go back. I thought I could handle it, but when the reflection stared back at me tonight, I realized I was fracturing from the inside out. The apartment was quiet, the kind of silence that presses down and amplifies every thought. Arif sat cross-legged on the floor, still wearing the delicate dress Mira had picked for him earlier. The heels had been removed hours ago, leaving his feet bare, trembling from exhaustion. Today's lessons and public encounters had left him emotionally raw, and now, in the stillness, the full weight of his transformation began to crash down. Mira sat across from him, her expression unreadable, almost cold. "You've done well today," she said softly, "but we can't ignore the cracks. Emotional strength is just as important as appearance." Arif swallowed hard, but his throat tightened. He couldn't speak. The mirror across the room reflected a girl he barely recognized. Delicate features, soft curves, long hair cascading over his shoulders, eyes wide with confusion and vulnerability. Every glance at that reflection stabbed him with a reminder of what he had lost and what he had become. Tears pricked his eyes before he could stop them. I can't. I don't know who I am anymore," he whispered, voice trembling, almost unrecognizable even to himself. Mira moved closer, her fingers brushing his cheek. It's okay to feel lost. That's part of the process. You're learning more about her, about yourself, than you realize." Arif shook his head violently.
No.
"I'm losing myself. Arif is disappearing. I can feel it." His hands clutched the fabric of his dress, pressing it against his chest as though trying to anchor the boy within him. He leaned forward, pressing his forehead to the floor. Tears spilled freely now, hot and relentless. Every lesson, every compliment, every public glance and subtle touch from Mira seemed to converge, overwhelming him with shame, fear, and an unexpected, forbidden thrill.
Who am I?
He cried silently. Arif? Or her? Myra's eyes softened, but her tone remained firm. You are becoming her, yes. And she will survive, will thrive. But first, you must break free from the boy you cling to. Only then can she truly exist. Arif's body shook. The realization that this wasn't just about clothing or makeup hit him hard. It was about identity. Every smile, every step, every compliment had been reshaping him, rewiring the way he moved through the world, the way he saw himself. And now, confronted with the reflection, the power of it became undeniable. Mira gently lifted his chin, forcing him to meet his own gaze. Look at her. Really look. See the beauty. Not the fear. Not the shame. The world will only see this, and so should you. Arif's eyes blurred with tears, but he obeyed. He traced the soft line of his jaw, the delicate arch of his brows, the curve of his lips. And with every detail, he felt a strange, intoxicating pull. Shame and desire tangled, his identity fracturing further. This isn't just a dress, it's a life, he thought, heart pounding. Every layer of makeup, every step in these heels, every smile at strangers. She's replacing me. And part of me wants that. Even though it terrifies me. Mira knelt beside him, brushing a damp strand of hair from his tear-streaked face. Good, she murmured. Feel it. Pain, confusion, shame, they are tools. Every tear, every tremble, every doubt strengthens her. And soon you'll be unable to tell where Arav ends and she begins. Arav trembled violently, part of him wanting to scream, part of him trembling at the forbidden thrill of her words. The dichotomy of control and care, of cruelty and sweetness, was intoxicating and terrifying all at once. Hours passed with Mira guiding him through the mirror, through posture exercises, through whispered affirmations that blurred the line between encouragement and manipulation. By nightfall, Arav's mind felt like a storm, identity shredded, emotions raw, and the fragile boundaries of self blurred beyond recognition. Finally, Mira leaned back, observing him with a faint, calculating smile. "Tomorrow," she said softly, "you'll meet someone from your past. Someone who knew you as Arav. And we'll see how much she has replaced him." Arav's chest tightened. His fear surged alongside a strange, trembling curiosity. Can I face him? Can I remain her? Or will the boy fight back? As Mira left the room, Arav crawled to the mirror, pressing his hands against it. Who am I?" he whispered, the tears flowing freely. And for the first time, he realized the answer might be lost forever. "I thought I had escaped my old life, but the moment he saw me, the world I had built collapsed in an instant." The next morning, Arav woke with a pit in his stomach. Mira had whispered yesterday that he would meet someone from his past, a person who knew him as Arav, the shy, invisible boy. The thought filled him with dread. Every step outside, every glance from strangers, had been a rehearsal for perfection, but now the stakes were higher. This wasn't just about being pretty or graceful, it was about hiding a secret that could shatter everything. Dressed in a flowing, pale pink dress and delicately applied makeup that accentuated his soft features, Arav looked at his reflection. She stared back, her eyes wide, her lips slightly parted, a girl who could charm and beguile anyone. But beneath that, the fear of exposure gnawed at him. Myra's voice broke through the silence. "He won't recognize her if you play the part. Confidence, charm, grace, and don't let the past betray you." Arav swallowed hard, nodding, though his hands trembled. He had been transformed, trained, and humiliated into perfection, but this test threatened to undo it all. They entered a quiet cafe. Arav scanned the room, and there he was, Ritik, an old classmate from high school. The boy who had once teased him mercilessly, who knew every awkward habit, every quiet corner of his personality. Ritik's eyes landed on Arav, and for a split second, recognition flickered. Arav froze, every heartbeat echoing in his chest. He had been so careful, so meticulous, but some part of him knew that familiarity could betray him. "Excuse me, can I sit here?" Ritik asked, unaware of the storm brewing in Arav's mind. Arav nodded silently, voice soft, melodic, and perfectly feminine. "Of course." As they talked, Arav felt the tension twisting inside him. Every laugh, every gesture, every tilt of his head had to be calculated. Ritik's casual familiarity made it worse. He remembered the boy Arav, not the girl in front of him. Ritik smiled warmly. "You're different, but in a good way. Very pretty." Arav's chest tightened. Every compliment, every recognition was a knife twisting in his chest and a forbidden thrill surging through him. Shame and desire collided violently, leaving him trembling in silence. "He knows me, he knew me, and now he sees her," Arav thought, panic and confusion mixing with a strange sense of exhilaration. Who am I anymore? Every glance in the cafe mirrored the duality tearing through him. The girl he had become was admired, desired, and charming, but the boy he had been hovered just beneath the surface, waiting to betray him. Mira observed from a distance, her eyes calculating. Every word, every glance, every subtle reaction was part of her lesson. This is perfect, she thought. He will see her, and she will survive. But she will feel the tension of both worlds, and the transformation will deepen. Ritik laughed at a joke Arav made, leaning slightly closer. The casual touch sent shivers through him. Panic, fear, desire, all tangled in one overwhelming surge. Arav realized how exposed he was, how vulnerable, how intoxicating it felt to be admired in this borrowed body. Am I hiding or performing? He wondered. And does it even matter if he finds out? Every compliment and lingering glance reinforced the delicate trap Mira had built. He was no longer simply Arav, the boy. He was her, delicate, visible, and trapped in a body that drew attention he had never known before. As the cafe emptied and the afternoon sunlight filtered through the windows, Arav felt a tremor of fear and fascination. Riddick leaned closer, whispering, "You've really changed. I almost didn't recognize you." Arav's mind raced. Almost recognized me. The word pierced him. He was teetering on the edge, between exposure and perfection, between shame and secret thrill, between boyhood and the girl he was becoming. As they left the cafe, Arav's heels clicking softly against the pavement, he felt the weight of Myra's words echo in his mind. Soon, the world, the past, and your desires will collide. And then you'll have to decide who you truly are. He realized that the next encounter could either cement his transformation or unravel everything he had been forced to become. The first time someone looked at me with desire, I realized my heart didn't know whether to panic, resist, or melt. Arav woke with a strange flutter in his chest. Mira had informed him that today would push him further, not just in public appearances or posture, but in romantic and social attention. He had already experienced admiration from strangers and recognition from the past, but now, the stakes were personal. Dressing in a soft lavender dress that clung gently to his curves, Arav carefully applied makeup under Myra's watchful eye. His reflection, delicate, flawless, undeniably feminine, greeted him. He no longer saw just a boy trapped in silk and heels. He saw someone others could desire. Someone he was starting, confusingly, to desire himself. Mira leaned close, whispering, "Today, you will see the power of attention. The thrill, the pull. Embrace it, but never forget who controls it." They arrived at a small, upscale gathering, a private lounge where young professionals mingled. Arav's heels clicked softly against the polished floor, every step a careful dance. His chest tightened with nerves and anticipation. The room was filled with people who would notice him, admire him, and judge him. Almost immediately, a young man approached. His eyes lingered, curiosity and admiration mixing in his gaze. "Hi. I don't think we've met," he said, a smile tugging at the corners of his lips. Arav's voice trembled as he responded, soft and melodic. "I'm
Anaya."
The man, Rohit, smiled warmly. "You're stunning. Absolutely stunning." Arav froze. Compliments had been a part of his day-to-day transformation, but this carried a different energy.
Desire.
Attraction. The subtle, intoxicating acknowledgement that he was seen not just as pretty, but as someone people wanted. Why does this feel terrifying? He thought, heartbeat racing. And thrilling? Rohit leaned slightly closer, brushing a hand near Arav's. The proximity made Arav's pulse spike, a mixture of panic, embarrassment, and an unfamiliar, guilty excitement. He realized he could no longer separate shame from pleasure. The two were tangled, impossible to untangle. From across the room, Mira observed, her eyes gleaming with satisfaction. Every glance, every subtle touch, every blush from Arav was exactly as she intended. She whispered to herself, "See how she responds? The thrill of being desired is a powerful teacher. Soon, he will crave her." Arav felt trapped in this new persona. Every word he spoke, every movement, every smile had to convince not only Rohit but also himself that he belonged here, in this feminine identity.
Who am I?
He thought desperately. Am I Arav pretending, or Anaya becoming real? Every compliment, every lingering look, every subtle brush of hands left him trembling. He hated how much he was enjoying it, yet part of him did enjoy it. The attention, the desire, the intoxicating sense of power in being admired for beauty he hadn't been born with. He tried to hide the thrill, forcing small gestures, delicate smiles, and polite laughter. But the tension inside him was unbearable, an emotional storm of shame, excitement, fear, and curiosity. As the evening progressed, Rohit leaned closer, whispering, "I'd love to take you somewhere quieter. Just the two of us." "You're incredible." Ariv's body froze. Panic surged. Fear of exposure. Fear of being trapped. But beneath it, a forbidden thrill burned. He realized he was walking a dangerous line. The attention made him feel alive in a way he hadn't before, but it also reminded him how far he had drifted from Ariv, the boy he used to be. Myra's voice echoed in his mind. Desire is a tool. Desire is control. Learn it. Bend it. Become her. Ariv excused himself briefly, retreating to the mirror in a quiet corner. He stared at his reflection, trembling, hands pressed against the glass. The girl in the reflection looked back at him, her eyes bright, lips slightly parted, delicate features flawless. I am her, he realized. And yet, I still feel him inside. Ariv, the boy I used to be. Tears pricked his eyes. The thrill, the desire, the admiration, it was intoxicating and terrifying all at once. And he knew, deep down, that the next step would push him even further into a world where he might never return to who he was. Rohit's voice called out from behind. "Are you okay? You look amazing." Ariv turned slowly, heart racing. Every glance, every word, every heartbeat reminded him that the line between Ariv and Anaya was blurring, and soon he would have to confront the impossible question. Does he want to be the boy anymore, or the girl everyone desires? The crowd's eyes were everywhere, and with every step, I felt Ariv slipping further away, replaced by someone I barely recognized. Ariv woke early, the excitement and terror of the day ahead already gnawing at him. Mira had told him this day would test him like never before, a large social event, a cocktail party where everyone would be watching, judging, and reacting to her, the girl he had become. There was no corner to hide in, no quiet mirror to retreat to. Today, he would perform fully in public, and his success or failure would define how complete his transformation had become. Dressed in a shimmering emerald gown that hugged his curves and flowed gracefully around his legs, Ariv looked at his reflection one last time. The makeup accentuated high cheekbones, the soft blush highlighted delicate features, and long lashes framed eyes that now shimmered with tension and fear. He barely recognized the reflection. It was elegant, poised, and unmistakably feminine. Myra's voice cut through his thoughts. Remember, every glance, every smile, every gesture. She must captivate. She must charm. She must perform flawlessly. The world will see her, not you. The venue was alive with chatter, laughter, and clinking glasses. Men and women mingled in clusters, sizing each other up, exchanging compliments, and glancing curiously at the newcomers. Ariv's heels clicked against the marble floor, each step echoing like a countdown in his chest. Every eye that landed on him made his stomach tighten. Each compliment, each lingering gaze reminded him that Ariv, the shy boy, no longer existed here. Only Anaya, the girl Mira had meticulously created, was visible. Arif's first encounter was with a group of elegantly dressed young professionals. Every word, every smile had to be measured. Every laugh carefully pitched to sound natural yet captivating. The lessons Mira had drilled into him over weeks, the tilt of the head, the gentle sway of the hips, the subtle movement of hands, now came into play with ruthless precision.
Breathe. Smile.
Engage.
Charm.
He repeated silently, muscles tensed, heart hammering. A tall man approached, offering a drink. "You look stunning tonight. Absolutely radiant." Arif felt the familiar mix of panic and forbidden thrill. He bowed his head slightly, voice soft and melodic. "Thank you, that's very kind of you." Kind? He shivered at the word, feeling it both sting and excite him. Every compliment was a reminder. The boy inside was fading, replaced by a persona that drew desire effortlessly. Myra's silent observation. From across the room, Mira watched with a quiet, calculating smile. Each reaction, each subtle gesture, each blush or shy glance reinforced her control. She had shaped him into a performance, and tonight, the world would be the stage. "You're doing perfectly," she whispered to herself, her eyes tracking him like a hawk. Soon, the boy won't even recognize the girl he's become. A familiar voice called out. Is that Arav? Arav froze. Across the room stood Raj, a friend from college who had known him intimately, his laughter, his habits, his awkward gestures. His chest tightened, fear and panic surging. If he recognizes me, everything falls apart. But he had rehearsed this moment countless times. He tilted his chin, smiled delicately, and responded with the soft, musical voice Mira had taught him. I'm Anaya, he said, each syllable measured, calm. Raj paused, eyes narrowing slightly. You all look different. But wow, you're beautiful. Arav's heart raced. Beautiful, yes, but terrifying. Every interaction was a battle. He wanted to flee, to shed the persona and escape back into Arav's familiar skin. But every compliment, every glance, every lingering stare filled him with a forbidden thrill. The attention, the desire, the validation, it was intoxicating and terrifyingly addictive.
Who am I now?
He thought, staring at his reflection in a decorative mirror across the room. Arav? Anaya? Or someone else entirely? A group of young men began teasing him gently, complimenting his heels and the way he walked. The subtle mockery stung, but it also made his heart race. Myra's training had prepared him. Smile, tilt your head, respond with charm.
And he did.
Each smile, each gesture, each careful laugh transformed embarrassment into allure, humiliation into power. He realized that being seen, being judged, being desired, all of it was a lesson in control and surrender simultaneously. The crowd's eyes, the whispers, the glances, they didn't just see him. They saw her, and she was intoxicatingly perfect. As the evening wore on, Arav's confidence grew, but so did the inner turmoil. The boy inside was fading, replaced by a persona that drew admiration effortlessly. He laughed, conversed, and moved with grace, yet every compliment and touch reminded him of what he had lost, and what he was becoming. Myra's voice echoed in his mind. You are her now. Embrace it.
Feel it.
Let the world see her. And know he watches, he tests, and you must not falter. As the party reached its peak, a mysterious figure approached from the shadows, smiling knowingly. Arav's chest tightened, his reflection blurred in the glass walls.
Who is that?
Myra's whisper floated in his memory. The final test is coming. Desire, danger, exposure, and only she will survive it. I didn't know whether to run, scream, or melt under his gaze. Every step I took felt like walking a tightrope over fire. The party was at its peak. Music, laughter, and chatter filled the grand hall, but Arav barely noticed. His heart was pounding, not from nerves alone, but from the sudden awareness of the figure approaching him from the shadows. Dark, confident, and striking, the man's eyes locked on him, and a chill ran down Arav's spine. Who is he? Arav thought, clutching the delicate clutch in his hands. Every instinct screamed that this was no ordinary guest. The way he moved, the intensity in his gaze, the subtle smirk, it was as if he knew something only Arav feared to reveal. The man stopped a few steps away, leaning casually against a pillar. So, this is Anaya, he said softly, his tone carrying amusement and intrigue. Quite the transformation, impressive. Arav froze, the heels suddenly heavier beneath him. How does he know? Panic, fear, and excitement collided in his chest. Mira appeared beside him, hand gently on his shoulder. Don't worry, she whispered, voice calm but sharp. This is part of the test. Stay poised. Be her. Arav nodded, but the tremor in his hands betrayed him. Every step he took toward the man was both a performance and a surrender. The man's eyes scanned him, lingering on the soft curve of his jaw, the delicate hands, the shyness masked by elegance. You're beautiful, he said, leaning slightly closer. But I sense hesitation. Who are you really? The words cut through Arav like a blade. Hesitation.
Doubt.
Identity. The boy inside him wanted to scream the truth. But Myra's lessons, the weeks of training, the hours of makeup, posture, and charm all demanded silence. She is Anaya, he whispered mentally. Not Ariv. Not anymore. The man circled him slowly, scrutinizing every detail. Confidence, charm, velour, he mused. But can she handle pressure? Ariv felt sweat prickling his skin. Every glance, every subtle comment, was a push toward emotional and psychological breaking points. The man's presence alone was a challenge, forcing him to reconcile desire, shame, and fear in real time. Myra's voice was soft in his ear. Play along. Let him admire her. Let him test her. Control is in your reaction. Ariv nodded subtly, forcing a gentle smile, keeping his voice soft and melodic. Thank you. I try my best, he whispered. The man stepped closer, examining the delicate arch of Ariv's brows, the soft blush on his cheeks, the slight tremor in his hands. Every inch of proximity made Ariv's pulse thunder. I can't breathe, he thought. And yet, I feel alive in a way I've never known. The man's hand lightly brushed Ariv's arm, not inappropriately, but intimately enough to make him shiver. Every nerve was on fire, every thought a battle between shame and thrill.
Who am I now?
Ariv thought desperately. The boy I was is gone. And yet, I still feel him inside, screaming at me to stop, to escape, to be myself. But the reflection in the mirrored walls confirmed it. Anaya existed. Confident, poised, desirable, and trapped in a role he both resented and craved. The man finally smiled, a knowing, teasing curve of his lips. You're more than beautiful, you're captivating. But I wonder, how much of her is real, and how much is controlled? Ariv's stomach twisted. Myra's hand on his shoulder was grounding, but also a reminder of the chains he was under. He realized the ultimate test wasn't just public appearance, it was psychological endurance, submission, and control. I can't let him see the boy, he thought. I have to survive this. I have to be her. As the man stepped back, applauding lightly, the music swelled, and the room seemed to shrink around Ariv. Myra's eyes met his, a hint of warning in her gaze. The final choice is coming, she whispered silently. Will he break, or will she rise? Ariv's reflection shimmered in the mirror, and for the first time, he questioned not just who the world saw, but who he had become, and whether he wanted to go back. The world wanted her, the boy inside screamed, and I realized that tonight, I had to decide who I truly belonged to. The ballroom lights dimmed, casting a golden glow over the polished floors. Ariv stood near the grand staircase, the emerald gown hugging his curves, makeup flawless, hair cascading in soft waves. Every guest admired him, every glance adding to the intoxicating tension that twisted his chest. But amidst the applause and admiration, the mysterious man from earlier lingered, eyes burning with curiosity and challenge. Mira hovered close, whispering, Tonight, you will face desire, shame, and your ultimate choice. Stay her, or the boy will emerge, and the consequences will be revealing. Ariv's heartbeat thundered. He could feel it, the boy in him screaming to run, to escape, to reclaim the life he had lost. Yet a strange, forbidden thrill pulsed through him, forcing him to acknowledge that Anaya, this delicate, admired, and visible girl, had begun to take root. The man approached again, slow and deliberate. You've captivated everyone, he murmured. But what about yourself? Do you enjoy being seen? Desired? Ariv's breath caught. The question struck him like lightning. Desire.
Shame.
Confusion. Every nerve screamed in protest, yet another part of him, unexpected and secret, quivered with anticipation. I don't know, he thought, trembling. I feel alive and terrified and ashamed. The crowd's murmurs faded into the background. The reflections in the mirror walls multiplied, showing a girl poised, beautiful, and radiant. But beneath the surface, Ariv's hands trembled, his mind a storm of conflicting emotions. Am I betraying myself or discovering her? He wondered. Am I Ariv, resisting, or Anaya, finally free? The man stepped closer, whispering, every move, every glance, every breath, You wield power. Yet I sense fear. Do you control it? Or does it control you? Ariv's pulse surged. The brush of the man's hand along his arm sent shivers down his spine, a mixture of embarrassment, desire, and something deeper, intoxicating and terrifying. Every inch of contact was a test, forcing him to reconcile his emotions, fear, shame, and forbidden thrill simultaneously. He remembered Myra's words, "Desire is a tool. Shame is a weapon. Control both and you survive." Ariv's knees weakened. The room, the lights, the murmurs, the stares, all converged into one overwhelming torrent of sensation. He felt himself fracturing further, Ariv fading, Anaya rising. The thrill of attention, the danger of exposure, the intoxicating realization that he was desirable, it all collided in a storm of emotion. Tears pricked his eyes, yet he held his posture, smiled delicately, and responded with the soft, melodic voice Mira had taught him. I'm learning," he whispered, voice trembling yet composed. The mysterious man's smile deepened.
Good.
But can you truly embrace her? Or will the boy fight back when no one is watching? Ariv's reflection stared back, eyes glimmering with uncertainty and something else, a spark of desire he didn't fully understand. He realized that acceptance or resistance was no longer a question of survival alone. It was about identity, power, and surrender. From across the room, Myra's gaze never wavered. Every blush, every tremble, every subtle shiver of Ariv's body reinforced her control. She had orchestrated every step, every glance, every lesson, and now, the final crescendo approached. "Remember," she whispered silently, "you are hers. If you falter, the boy returns. If you embrace, she thrives." Ariv's mind raced. The boy wanted to flee, to strip away the dress, to reclaim his old life. But the girl, Anaya, beckoned with soft, powerful allure. Admired, desired, commanding attention in ways Ariv never had, she promised a life of visibility, control, and forbidden thrill. Every nerve, every thought, every heartbeat screamed with conflicting emotions. "Who do I want to be?" The man leaned closer, whispering, "Tonight, you will decide. Ariv or Anaya." Ariv's reflection shimmered in the mirrored walls. The answer was no longer clear. Heart racing, lips trembling, tears streaming, he realized that whichever choice he made tonight would change him forever. Body, mind, and soul. The moment had come. Every lesson, every humiliation, every forbidden thrill, it all led to this. Who would I be when the music stopped, when the world watched, when I chose? The grand ballroom was alive with laughter, clinking glasses, and whispers of admiration. Ariv, no, Anaya, stood at the center, the emerald gown shimmering under the soft golden lights. Every step, every sway of the hips, every flutter of eyelashes had been drilled into perfection by Mira, but now, the test was no longer about skill. It was about identity, desire, and choice. The mysterious man from earlier approached, his eyes sharp, yet soft with intrigue. "This is it," he murmured. "The moment you decide, Ariv or Anaya." Ariv's chest tightened. His heart thundered as the boy and the girl waged war within him. The boy screamed to run, to shed the dress, to reclaim familiarity. The girl tempted with allure, attention, and power he had never known.
Who am I?
He thought, staring at the reflection in the grand mirrors that lined the hall. Am I the boy I was, timid and invisible, or the girl I've become, desired and admired? Every gaze from the crowd amplified the tension. People whispered, complimented, and stared. He felt the intoxicating thrill of visibility, of being admired for beauty and charm, emotions that clashed violently with guilt and shame. Mira stepped close, her hand brushing his arm. "You've learned everything. Every glance, every gesture, every response, it all comes down to this. Are you ready to claim her, or will you run back to him?" Ariv's lips trembled. He wanted to run. He wanted the safety of familiarity. But the thrill, the power, The forbidden allure of Anaya held him in place, heart pounding, cheeks flushed, legs trembling in high heels. The mysterious man's gaze held him, soft yet commanding. No more hiding.
Choose.
Show me, show yourself who you truly are. Arav closed his eyes. Images of every step, every lesson, every moment of humiliation, desire, and secret excitement flashed through his mind. Every mirror session, every public glance, every whispered compliment, it had all transformed him. He felt Anaya's presence stronger than his own reflection. And in that instant, a calm, thrilling realization washed over him. He didn't need to fight anymore. I am Anaya, he whispered internally. And I will not hide. Opening his eyes, Arav lifted his chin, shoulders back, and smiled, a radiant, confident smile that drew gasps and murmurs from the crowd. The boy inside receded, leaving Anaya fully visible, fully commanding attention. The mysterious man nodded, approvingly, a smile tugging at his lips. Finally, she has emerged. Myra's eyes sparkled with satisfaction. You see? When you embrace her, the world responds.
You are captivating.
You are free. Arav, Anaya, felt a strange, powerful exhilaration. The shame, the fear, the conflict melted into pride, thrill, and a subtle, intoxicating power. The lessons, the manipulation, the control, and the humiliation had forged something new, a woman who could charm, desire, and conquer, all at once. The crowd noticed the change immediately. Compliments, whispers, and smiles flowed toward Anaya. She laughed softly, graceful and melodic, responding to each admirer with perfect poise. Every glance confirmed what she already felt. The girl she had become was beautiful, powerful, and alive. The mysterious man leaned closer one final time. You've survived. You've chosen. And the world will never forget you now. Arav, Anaya, felt tears prick his eyes. Not of sorrow, but of release, triumph, and transformation. The boy he had been was gone. The girl he had become was here, radiant, commanding, and unstoppable. Later, Mira approached, taking his hands gently. This is the reward, the result of every challenge, every lesson. You are her now. Beautiful, desired,
free.
Arav, Anaya, looked at his reflection in a nearby mirror. A radiant girl stared back, confident and alive. I am Anaya and I am perfect. As the music swelled and the lights glimmered across the ballroom, Anaya stepped forward into the crowd, every step a declaration. She had chosen herself, her beauty, her power, her identity. And while Arav might always be a memory, Anaya was now unstoppable, radiant, and alive in a world that would never see her as anything less. Being seen, desired, admired, it was intoxicating. But the world didn't stop, and neither did the challenges of living as her. The weeks following the grand party were a whirlwind. Arav, now fully Anaya, navigated a world that had shifted beneath his feet. Every step, every glance, every interaction reminded him that the transformation was no longer just a performance, it was reality. The girl in the mirror was no longer temporary. She was permanent, desired, and visible. Public spaces, once intimidating, now carried a strange thrill. Cafes, malls, and professional events became stages. Every smile, every whisper, every compliment fueled Anaya's confidence, and at the same time, reminded her of the price paid. Arav, the boy she had once been, was fading fast. At the boutique, a saleswoman paused, admiration in her eyes. You have such elegance, so confident. Anaya smiled, heart racing. Elegance, confidence, these words feel good, yet foreign. She realized that while she had mastered the appearance, the emotions that came with it, desire, allure, and attention, were still a new, intoxicating experience. Rohit, the young man from previous encounters, returned unexpectedly. His eyes lit up at the sight of her. Anaya, you're even more beautiful than I imagined. Arav's chest tightened, Panic mixed with thrill. The attraction, the attention, the intoxicating desire. It was overwhelming. She laughed softly, feeling the forbidden pull of enjoying being admired, cherished, and desired. Yet beneath it, a whisper of guilt lingered. Is it wrong to feel this way? She asked herself, torn between past identity and present reality. Every public encounter was a test. Every flirtatious glance, compliment, or subtle touch forced her to reconcile the girl she had become with the boy she had left behind. The thrill of visibility clashed with lingering shame, creating an emotional tension that was addictive and consuming. Myra's guidance remained ever present in her memory. Control the attention, embrace the thrill, and remember your lessons. You are her now. Even as Anaya thrived, the world tested her limits. Friends from her past occasionally appeared, curious or suspicious. Questions like, "Are you really okay?" or "You look different," pierced her armor. Each encounter reminded her that transformation was not just skin deep. Acceptance required courage, composure, and constant vigilance. I must not falter, she thought. I must be her, always. Despite the challenges, Anaya's transformation yielded undeniable power. People listened, admired, and sought her presence. Romantic attention, social recognition, and professional opportunities flourished. She discovered the intoxicating thrill of being desired, a sensation Arav had never experienced in his previous life. Yet, every triumph was tinged with the memory of what was lost: the boy, the past identity, the simplicity of anonymity. A glance in a reflective window or a whisper from someone who had known Arav reminded her that her transformation came at a price. The balance between pride and nostalgia, thrill and guilt, desire and shame, became her new reality. Every day was a negotiation, the girl she had become versus the boy she had been. Each choice, each interaction, each smile reaffirmed the truth. Anaya was alive, thriving, and visible, but not without cost. As Anaya walked through the city streets, heads turning, whispers following, she realized that her journey was far from over. Challenges would continue. Temptations would test her. And one day, the world, or someone from her past, might force her to confront her deepest secrets and desires. But for now, she thought, heart racing and pulse alive, I am Anaya. I am seen. I am desired. And I am unstoppable. The moment I had dreaded and secretly craved had arrived. Every secret, every fear, every desire, all about to collide in the world's eyes. Anaya walked into the grand hall of the city's most prestigious fashion gala. The chandeliers glittered above, the marble floors reflected the golden light, and every step of her heels echoed like a heartbeat across the polished hall. This was more than an event, it was the ultimate public test. Friends, colleagues, strangers, and even those who had known Arav in his past life were here. Myra's whisper floated in her mind. Tonight, everyone sees her. The world knows. There's no turning back. As soon as Anaya stepped onto the red carpet, cameras flashed. Guests murmured, captivated by her presence. Every smile, every flick of her hair, every graceful gesture was under scrutiny. The thrill of admiration collided violently with fear. What if someone sees through me? What if they recognize Arav? Her pulse raced, but the weeks of training, every whispered lesson from Mira, every rehearsal in mirrors had prepared her. She smiled, engaged with reporters, photographers, and admirers, every word measured, every laugh delicate, every motion controlled. Then she felt it, a familiar presence. Raj, her old friend, pushed through the crowd. His eyes widened, staring at Anaya with disbelief. Is that Arav? The world seemed to stop. Her heart hammered. All the attention, all the admiration, all the rehearsed confidence threatened to collapse under the weight of recognition. But Anaya stood tall, chest lifted, chin high, and replied in the soft, melodic voice Mira had drilled into her. I'm Anaya now. Arav is gone. Raj blinked, searching for any sign of the boy he once knew, but found none. Wow, you're incredible, he finally said, awe in his voice. Anaya's heart raced, relief mingled with a forbidden thrill. Not only had she survived, she had captivated even someone who knew her past intimately. Every gaze, every whisper, every compliment became a test of her new identity. The thrill of public exposure, the intoxicating attention, and the validation of her transformation surged through her. Yet, beneath it all, a subtle tension lingered. The echo of Ariv, the memory of fear and shame. Am I Anaya because I must be, or because I want to be? She thought. The question trembled on her lips, unspoken, yet demanding acknowledgement. From across the hall, Mira observed with a serene, almost possessive pride. Every successful interaction, every captivated gaze reinforced her meticulous planning. She had pushed, guided, and controlled Anaya through humiliation, desire, and performance, and now she watched the final masterpiece unfold. She is perfect, Mira thought. Beautiful, commanding, unstoppable. As the gala reached its peak, the mysterious man from earlier reappeared. His smile was knowing, teasing, yet approving. Anaya, you've survived every test, embraced every challenge. You're no longer a secret. You're the revelation. Anaya's chest tightened. Pride, fear, desire, and exhilaration collided in a storm. She realized the truth. She wasn't just performing. She had become Anaya in body, mind, and presence. The girl in the mirror, the persona she had learned to embrace, had claimed her completely. The crowd erupted into applause as Anaya stepped onto the center stage, every step a declaration. Her reflection in the mirrored walls confirmed it. A radiant, confident, and commanding woman stared back. Ariv was gone. Anaya had emerged, and the world was now hers to navigate, desired and admired. Tears pricked her eyes, not of sorrow, but of triumph. The journey, the humiliation, the manipulation, the thrill, and the fear, all had culminated in this ultimate revelation. She was perfect, unstoppable, and finally free. As the gala lights shimmered and photographers clamored for her attention, a subtle voice whispered from the crowd, "But what happens when the world expects more and desires never rest?" Anaya smiled, a confident, thrilling curve of her lips. The future was uncertain, tempting, and alive, but she knew one truth. She was Anaya, and nothing, not even the past, could undo her now.